States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, he's talking to the judge. It better be nice.
I told you he'd make the pledge.
All right.
I did that.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Jeremy Rivas,
Here.
Red Stone,
Here.
Andy Gasquet, Greg Simmons,
Present.
Andy Bozak, Mike Richter,
Here.
Sylvia Graham.
Here.
6-1.
All right. Approval of minutes for April 18th, 2023.
Move to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Motion is second. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. First reading, please.
Notice is hereby given to the taxpayers of Porter County that the following items are brought to the county council for their consideration. In the general fund, hourly, amount of $20,000, legal in the amount of $30,000, food and groceries in the amount of $125,000, auto, truck, and equipment, $30,000. Lit, contractual services in the amount of $350,000. Health fund, medical services, $750, advertising, $1,485. Public defender, fund $1,200, legal services, $40,000. Auditors non-reverting fund, software rental fees in the amount of $148,759. Anabuse fund, interfund transfer, $2,235. Sheriff's donation fund, patrol K-9, $21,200. Public safety data tech fund, equipment rentals in the amount of $105,000. Foundation E911 fund, telephone and internet in the amount of $7,197.31. Coroner fatality review fund, other services in the amount of $5,000. COVID FEMA grant, other supplies, $3,548. Road signs, $1,699.50. Maintenance agreements, $2,017.46. Other rentals, $307,189.75. Contractual services in the amount of $11,449.95. Other services, $2,762.50. Data processing equipment, $8,824.59. Tobacco grant fund hourly in the amount of $29,484. FICA in the amount of $2,358. First reading.
Thank you. All right. I know we've got some stuff on the end, so I'll try to fly through. I know there's going to be some questions, but commissioners. First one is a transfer $2,000 from equipment rentals to travel. The reason appropriation needed to pay hotel and travel expenses for human resource training and commissioners conference.
You want to do more? Or?
It
Motion
doesn't
to
matter.
approve.
I second.
Motion second, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries. Another transfer $2,000 from equipment rentals to training and education. Reason appropriation needed for commissioners conference and other training needs. Another transfer. I could have done this, I guess.
Motion to approve.
Motion second, discussion. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, another transfer $2,000 from equipment rentals to care of patients and inmates. Appropriation needed to get through the end of the year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Seeing discussion, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries. It's Form 144, $51,041 to $44,225 for media specialists. And it takes down, well, it raises the executive assistant from $44,225 to $51,041.
Motion to approve.
Reason, reorganizing department, media specialist retired and responsibilities have increased for executive assistant.
Second.
The motion, a couple seconds. Discussion.
Yeah, why are we taking the media specialist down? Are you guys planning on filling that role, or?
Yes, and I think they are working on exactly what that position would look like. And in the meantime, the executive assistant two's job responsibilities have increased significantly. Basically, a lot more minutes are being done continuously. So that's the idea, to retool the two positions within the commissioner's office.
Will that executive assistant too still be doing media duties once that new person's hired?
The executive assistant two would not be taking over a media specialty job. So when the
This is
media
two people.
specialist is refilled, assuming this is approved, and it has a salary line of $44,225, the salary for that media specialist. I think the commissioners maybe approved something last night on your agenda that was taking care of part of the media specialist obligation.
Thank you, Scott.
What's the difference between executive assistant 1 and 2?
As far as their job duties, executive assistant 2 is the main staff member that meets the public. Also then does all of the minutes and things to get the rooms ready and ready for the meetings. Executive assistant 1 would be the executive assistant who reports directly to the commissioners.
So would this bring executive assistant 2 the same salary as executive assistant 1?
I believe this would, I'd have to double check, but I believe this would still have executive assistant 2 making less than executive assistant 1.
That's correct on this one. What it shows.
Just to share with, again, we're looking to give raises in August,
I know.
and I think that, I said before, that timing, this would be something that I think should be addressed at one time. So, is this increase, is that just something that was decided, we thought of this is appropriate, or was there any type of comparison to job descriptions, as far as you know?
As far as I know, they did review the other job descriptions and the other positions throughout the county, and that not only within the commissioner's office, but I believe also countywide for this type of executive assistant too, is still within the range of what those positions are making.
I still think this is something that should be addressed at budget time. Giving raises here in towards the end of the middle of the year, but middle of the year is, I just don't think that
I can
we're opening
appreciate,
a can of worms every time we do this.
I can appreciate what,
No offense to the person, to the job, I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but I think that the timing, this is a budget time discussion.
I can appreciate what Mike is saying. Today's what, the 22nd, 23rd, 22nd. We're gonna have our first reading on the, what, 19th? Something like that, September.
20th, yeah.
Not even a month away. It is poor timing to have this come before us. However, I do believe that this person that's receiving this was kind of shortchanged when all of that, and that's my opinion, when all of this rearranging took place in the commissioner's office. And that's my personal feeling. So I think this person's very worthy of this, but it is poor timing.
Well, you also have to look at,
Vote for it.
yeah, but the responsibilities of this person's changed when somebody left that office, it filled a little bit of a void. Plus, you know, an increased role of the commissioner stuff and workload increased from before. And we're not giving any more money than we already have in a budget. It's like a flip, and we're not paying that 44,000.
That's a good.
Yeah, because you're taking it
So
away.
it's not costing us any more money right now.
That is
Actually, we're
good
saving money still. So,
Same money.
huh?
It's the same money.
Well, it's a saving.
Well, but we're not
Media
media specialist.
here right now.
Right.
We're saving.
So that's what
From
I'm,
that perspective,
Right.
while it remains unfilled, it's a cost.
right. So it's not,
Have you guys posted
not
that
hitting us.
position, by the way, Scott?
I don't believe it's been posted yet. But I think that also has to do with some additional media contracts where I think, I'm blanking on the name right now. Valpo Life, Portage Life, I believe their contract was enhanced yesterday at the commissioners' meeting last night to add some of the media specialist jobs. So I think they're in the period of trying to figure out exactly how does that work, what remains to be done, what's the best way to fill that position. But some of it is being taken away that way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, right now is the great statement is we'll be able to fill the spot at $44,225 for a media specialist moving forward. And I don't know, I'll take some fault here too. I didn't grab the wage study and look at it to see where it falls in that range. Probably should have done that before walking in here. But, you know, to follow it, Joy carries it in her back pocket. So it's tough. I mean, we've always frowned upon giving raises in the middle of the year, but it's whatever your guys' pleasure is. I know there's a motion and a second on the floor.
Yeah.
Further discussion?
No, call the question.
You guys want me to? So, you know, Portage is getting sued right now for not the Valpo is for not following their wage study. Should I look at this, Attorney McClure?
Don't get us in trouble.
Well, you got it in front of you.
We get
I don't believe giving a current employee a salary increase is going to put us in harm's way.
Can we get a roll call on the 144
Redstone.
change?
Yes.
Rick Sims.
Yes.
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Mike Brickner.
No.
Sylvia Graham.
Yes.
Jeremy Reeves.
No.
Does not pass. We need 5 to pass 144.
Wait, what?
You said doesn't pass?
No, because you need 5.
For what?
We just need 4.
I mean,
We need 5 for 144?
I've never
We had 2 no's. You have 4.
heard that though, Madam Auditor. A majority
Now it's
vote
5.
doesn't carry. What am I missing here?
Is your attorney here?
What's how many votes were there? What did I miss?
Yes.
Was there
4 yeses, 4 2. 4 yeses.
4 yeses? And the majority doesn't carry?
Not on a 144, it doesn't.
Attorney
Is that
McClure?
correct, Scott? Do you know?
We'll have to take a look at it. Makes me feel a little uncomfortable trying to advise you from this side at this point.
Well,
seeing that you're asking for the raise, right? It's hard to.
I talked to
make that
Harold.
Determination.
I talked to Harold today, and he was in court trying to get here. So, but that would be the first time that I've ever heard that. So, I would say if that's accurate, then it
I think the vote is what it is, and
yeah.
the 144 takes additional vote, then it fails, and if it doesn't, it passes.
Right.
Exactly.
The vote's the vote. Yep, I'll agree with you on that. So, all right, we'll move on. There's an additional $350,000 to contractual services. Appropriation needed to hire the architects with hiring the construction manager to oversee the project for the jail and highway garage, along with other capital improvements that fall under the plan.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second on the floor. Is there discussion? I've talked to a few of you guys about this. This is moving forward. We've got 2 projects we've discussed. We've had some presentations. You know, there's been just kind of arbitrary numbers thrown out there. This just gets us past that. Let's get the architects to work their projects that we have to do. And I don't think there's a question that we need to do them and that we're gonna have to bond. So moving forward, you know, at least engaging the architects and getting them to work is gonna give us a clear picture, you know, moving forward on cost and, you know, timelines. And
In last night's commissioners meeting, they did approve the construction manager for both projects, and they also approved one of the architects' contracts for the highway. And we were hoping to have the other architectural contract for the jail for last night, but we're unable to get that. So we are planning on having that at the next commissioners meeting, which I believe is in 2 weeks, which would then have the professional services in place to really start the planning.
I have a question about the jail. What are we asking them to design, or how does that work? Are we doing anything with mental health or work release, or is that being discussed? Is that?
I don't know that work release or mental health that I've been part of any of those conversations. I think right now the jail project is, there was a needs assessment completed. And that needs assessment then obviously has the things that are the most pressing for the facility. My assumption is this process is going to start with those most pressing issues, whether it be the roof or the HVAC or things of that magnitude. And then I think as this process moves forward, and that gets a little bit clearer picture of exactly what's being done and the cost of that, then I think some of the other, I would call enhancements, could then either be discussed again or brought back to the table once we figure out how much the critical part requires. And I think we have a pretty wide range right now, and so it's difficult to, so I think within probably 4 or 5 months, we'll be in a better position to say, this is kind of how much these things are costing, and this is how much would potentially be available for other things.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? And I think, those discussions too, it's not just looking at those two facilities. I think there's been issues, ongoing issues at juvenile detention.
Yes.
This building itself too. And so, so I think getting a clearer picture and understanding that we need to make sure we're looking at all of them. Was it 5 years? I don't remember, 5 years ago, Scott, that we did the $30 million bond to begin to address all of our buildings, and we couldn't do them all within that
Correct.
first round. So,
Yeah, Councilman Rivas is correct. There's also going to be some, looking at this building, the JDC, specifically to see what is ailing those buildings at a higher level, so that we have that information, so that if we do come back in 4 or 5 months and having those additional discussions for things that could happen at the jail, there's also the balance of, or at the highway, there's a balance of these other things out there, and have an idea of what the cost factors are.
all right, and Skillman's hired to oversee all of that, kind of as we put a plan together.
Skillman Corp. was hired as a construction manager for both projects.
And any other that would fall under kind of that developing plan? Is that like if it's JDC and stuff, it'll all be included in that?
Yeah, we will continue to expand into those.
Okay. All right, is there any further discussion on the additional? Seeing none, could we get a roll call on the additional?
Greg Sims,
Yes.
Andy Bozak,
Yes.
Mike Brickner,
Yes.
Sylvia Grant,
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas,
Yes.
Ed Stone.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Superior Court 1.
Your girls, they're crooked and look like crap.
There's an additional $30,000 to legal out of the Superior
No.
Court General Fund.
Never.
Reason appropriation needed for criminal transcripts for defendants who are determined to be indigent and for their expenses. Also to be used for temporary court reporters.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
I'd like to ask, how long have you been using temporary court reporters?
So we don't use temporary court reporters very often. There may have been 2 days this year where my court reporter had an emergency or was ill, and we had to bring in somebody to substitute for her, but it happens very rarely. This year, I don't recall her having much reason for us to call in a substitute, but I do recall that on a couple different occasions, we've had a substitute in there. So you say how long? I mean,
I did.
every year, there's the possibility of her needing to have somebody come
I
substitute.
just wasn't familiar with, but that does make sense. If somebody's sick.
We do try to fill in, so Judge Clymer and I have switched orders for different occasions, depending on what our needs are and depending on who's available to court report. So we try to make the best use of the resources we have available without hiring new people to come in or substitute people to come in that are gonna cost money. And they do charge us more than we like to pay when we have somebody come in from Boss or one of the other reporting companies, court reporting companies, so
Thank you.
I'm not happy about it when I have to do it.
Judge, you see an increase in indigent individuals as part of why you're at the 30,000, just kind of unexpected increase in indigent, or is it kind of status quo?
It's not.
You know,
It's not really an increase in indigent people. Last year, actually, we had more indigent transcript needs. This year, we've had we finished our second murder trial yesterday. She was on a public defender appointment. We did a murder trial in the spring, and he had private counsel, but his appeal is being done by the public defender's office because they used up any money they had available for the trial itself. Last year, we had, I think, all 5 cases that we tried. Only one of them became a private appeal. The other 4 were indigent appeals. So we had a greater need last year. I think I came asking for 40,000 last year, which you guys gave me, and I probably only used 20 of it. As I sit here today, I think I'm about 3,500, maybe 4,000 in the hole on the trial that we just finished up yesterday because the public defender service needed to take a couple depositions, and my court reporter had to prepare some transcripts during the trial, those sorts of things. But I think we're sitting about 3,500 in the hole as I'm here today. I have the trial that we just finished yesterday, which was 6 days of evidence. I estimate that's an $8,000 to $10,000 transcript on appeal. And then we have one more case this year, well, 2 more really, that could end up going to the appeal process. But we had a couple of acquittals this year as well. So that screw turns both ways, right? You never know what justice will look like that day, right?
Any further questions, comments?
Do you, are you gonna adjust your budget for next year so you don't, because you said you came last year, you're coming this year? You're just gonna add it in next year so we don't have to do this, or is it year to year? It could be less.
Year to year could be different. Last year, I know we were trying to, show some savings in the budget. Whether we leave the budget with the new appropriation for next year, I think is a question that we'll work with the auditor to answer in the next few weeks as we get into our budgeting process, a couple months, I guess, maybe. But I don't have an answer to that as we sit here today. I haven't thought about it, really.
Okay.
Maybe as long as we say yes all the time, they'll keep it low. And if they need it, they come and ask, and we say yes.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to judge what's
Judge a judge.
happening in your court. So it makes sense that you would just come if you need money.
I do control the calendar, but I certainly don't know how the jury's gonna come back on these cases. So I agree with you there, Sylvia.
So, and then we get to see our great judges too, every once in a
I
while.
love to see you guys.
In here, not in there.
Anytime I get to come through.
All right, any further questions? Comments? Can we get a roll call on the additional?
Rick Sims.
Yes.
Bozak,
Yes.
Mike Kirkner,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes.
Redstone.
Yes.
I'm gonna stay here for the public defender services.
Okay, perfect. Public defender, supplemental fund, additional $40,000 in legal services, additional appropriation needed for legal services.
Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Discussion.
Same thing, or why?
Same thing. We have more trials because COVID pushed them back and other reasons. And so when there's a jury trial and a conviction with a public defender case, there's likely an appeal.
Bob Harper keeps telling me that indigent people are entitled to a vigorous defense. That in front of me, and I agree with him.
I agree. The other thing that's changed in my office is Brian Truitt used to do all the appeals with salary. I don't have anybody else on staff that's experienced enough to do that. Trust me, my next hire will be that. So hopefully this is temporary. And as a reminder, this is coming out of the public defender supplemental fee, which is funded by pretrial services fee, not taxes.
Further discussion, questions, comments? We get a roll call on the addition.
Andy Bozak,
Yes.
Mike Kirkner,
Excuse me.
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes.
Redstone.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank you all.
evening.
Have a good
Good
night.
evening.
President?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay, change. Anyway, we would like to have you discuss past,
Have a good night.
with Attorney McClure, due to the fact that we went and got the salary ordinance, and they needed clarification on a couple of things, so that might help out with the situation, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Not sure what's going on, but let's get to the bottom of it.
If we could go back and look at the salary request
Yes,
Okay.
let's do it.
All right, so I met with the auditor's office after we had our hearing, and media specialist, both of those names are incorrect. Media specialist is executive administrator 2, and then we have executive administrator, or executive administrator.
Oh, this is.
Okay, so the executive administrator is making the number in the 40,000s, and we're wanting that to become the salary of the executive administrative assistant 2, which is the $51,000 number. The executive administrative 1, I believe, on the salary schedule made about $57,000. So if you were to approve this, the executive administrative number 1 would be making it that $57,000 number. The executive administrative 2 would be the $40,000 number, and the executive administrative assistant would be making the $51,000 number.
We're talking about 3 people.
We've- no, It's 3 positions. It's always been 3 positions.
That we're.
I know we're all sufficiently confused now.
Yeah, I have no.
We're not adding.
We're not adding it, we're not adding it.
No, it says,
But I don't even have an admin assistant on here.
We're changing the salary linked to the job
Executive assistant?
positions.
We're using different wording.
So,
people are employed now.
3.
How many are you, we're dealing?
Yeah.
It doesn't say admin.
Yes.
We have 2 employees.
All right, let's let Ryan try to clarify it for us better than,
So what happened was, on the 144 for tonight, they were changing the name and the salaries. So that wasn't made clear. So if you look at the salary ordinance, it actually, there's a little crosswalk I just gave to Jeremy to
yeah.
show you. So they're trying to change the name from one to the other, also the salary from one to the other.
So media specialist becomes what?
Or it's executive administrator,
2?
no, because that's why they have 2 on. So they're getting rid of it, executive administrator.
Yeah.
That becomes media specialist. Executive administrator 2 becomes Ms. Merle's job description. No additional employees.
Do we need to advertise or can we make a motion on that?
144.
Yeah, 144. This is.
So it's still a wash as far as the money goes. Okay, I make a motion to approve.
I second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to try this once again.
And we still need
Questions?
5, right? That's what we're going under the assumption of? 5 yeses?
Let me ask you,
Yeah.
who is getting the raise?
No
Are we,
one is
are we
getting-
giving a raise then?
No, we're not getting any raises. What we're doing is moving people from one position to open positions
Okay,
and changing titles. That's it.
all
We
right.
don't have a media specialist anymore per se, because that position was open. And so they're just moving into positions. There's no additional monies, and due to the fact that they have an open position, that money is also saved until it's filled and taken care of.
So the media specialist, Claire, help me out again, is gonna be the, that's the administrative assistant? Is that what that becomes? Administrative assistant?
Administrative assistant goes away and becomes media specialist. And they'll end up with executive administrative assistant 1 and 2.
All right, and one of them is making 57,961 and the other one,
Would be made.
all right, all right, all right. So I think I kind of follow Madam Auditor there then. I mean, basically, we're moving a person to the different job description or, yeah, and it still leaves the administrative assistant vacant, which is now gonna be called media specialist?
Correct.
Which is the 44,000.
Correct.
225. Is anybody confused still? All right, can we get a roll call on that?
Jeremy Rivas,
Yes.
Red Stone.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Mike Brickner.
Yes.
Sylvia Graham.
Shuffle the deck on us, Mike.
Do it.
Yes.
The only question I have is the time.
Yes,
It's not a matter of
It is time.
reorganization. I think that's fine.
But
I,
it's
Yeah, I
a
know
raise.
and I get what they did. It was a slick move. I understand now. Yeah, it's moving somebody from another position, but that position's making that 51,000, right? I mean, so it's. I think that's what I voted on. So we're moving somebody into a position that's already making that, and we're renaming another position that they were moved.
Thanks.
That's vacant. So
Budgets are gonna be fun.
Have a good one.
always are.
Stay tuned.
Make sure I put the commissioners last now, Scott. Take that note, Joy. All right, E911, additional $7,197.31 to telephone and internet services. Reason, appropriation needed for configuration, pricing, integrate NITCO PBX system into the existing 911 CallWorks call answering software.
Move to approve.
The motion is second, and I have no idea what's happening with that, so.
Hello, Mr. Barber. Good.
I kind of figured out you weren't Debbie Gunn, so, but, all right. So, well, welcome. We're a hoot. So, all right, was there a motion and a second?
Yes.
Any discussion, questions, comments on the,
This is it. Now the process will be done. Everything will be changed over to the new system. Is that what this is doing? Cool. Thank you.
any further questions, comments? Can we get a roll call on the additional?
That would be Red Stone.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Mike Brickner.
Yes.
Sylvia Graham.
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes. Motion carries, thank you. Health Department,
Good night.
bunch of stuff going on.
They almost got a whole page.
Yes.
Get your note pen out.
Perfect. Sylvia, I'll be back in a little while. You take this, would you? Hello, good afternoon. An additional $750. Medical services, reason appropriation needed to cover increase in monthly rate for medical consultant contract for TB.
Move to approve.
Motion a second on the 750.
Second.
Motion second.
There you go.
Comments, questions? We got a roll call on that additional.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Mike Brickner.
Yes.
Sylvia Graham.
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes. $1,485 additional to advertising, the reason appropriation needed for increased advertising for outreach events utilizing the mobile clinic.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. Questions, comments?
It's moving around. It's doing well. Seems to be doing well. We're talking. It was a great thing at the fair. A lot of positive comments. So that was good. I just didn't appreciate being stuck by a needle that one time, but you know, hey, accidents happen, I guess.
Whoa.
We get a roll call on the additional.
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Mike Brickner.
Yes.
Sylvia Graham.
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes.
Red Stone.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Adult probation supplemental and abuse fund. There's an additional $2,235 to interfund transfer. Reason closing out fund and abuse program is no longer offered.
Move to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Discussion.
There's no more anti-abuse program? That was state funded or something we just got rid of? Oh. Thank you.
But there's a, with antabuse not being used, is there an alternative, or is it they go somewhere else, or? Oh. Okay.
You gotta talk in the mic though. The recording can't hear you if you don't talk in the mic.
You're, yeah.
YouTube, you're gonna be YouTube famous.
The judges were not using the program, putting enough people on it because it's a user fee driven program, paid for program. So we didn't have enough funds to pay for the staff and supplies
those blow and go things with the cars, they pay for that though, don't they? Do they pay for the ankle bracelet as well?
And they are not cheap.
So there's already kind of user fee. I mean, it sounds like they're already paying for that, so why wouldn't they just pay for the?
It's a court-ordered program.
Yeah, okay.
So the judges will order them to take damages.
So what's gonna happen with the equipment that we have, the bracelets and everything?
You know, our equipment was bought for purchase in 2014. And it really is obsolete now, like we do a lot of like instruments, testing instruments. So
So it's garbage.
it's garbage, basically, yes. A $15,000 machine is garbage, which tears our soul.
But we got many years of usage out of it, clarify.
All right, can we get a roll call, please?
Mike Brickner.
Yes.
Sylvia Graham.
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes.
Bud Stone.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Steve Bozak.
Yes.
6-0.
Form 144, it's like changing up to $30 per hour for PHN and up to $19 per hour for clerical. Reason, rate of pay adjustment from $26 to $30 per hour, per hour for PHN and 18 to 19 per clerical.
I'll make a motion. Again,
There's a motion.
these are grants.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Seeing none, can we get a roll call?
Sylvia Graham.
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes.
Bud Stone.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Mike Brickner.
Yes.
6-0.
I'm glad she said it was a grant. That made it a lot easier.
Health Department COVID FEMA grant additional $3,548 to other supplies, $1,699.50 to road signs, $1,017.46 to maintenance agreements, $307,189.75 to other rentals, $11,449.95 to contractual services, $2,762.50 to other services, $8,824.59 to data processing equipment. The reason, appropriation needed for new grant fund to reimburse facilities, highway, health fund, Northwest Health, Sheriff, Memorial Opera House, IT, Portage Fire Department, and Valparaiso Fire Department for allowable expenses.
Move to approve.
Motion second. Discussion. Seeing none, can we get a roll call?
Bud Stone.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Mike Brickner.
Yes.
Sylvia Graham.
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes. Money back to everyone, huh?
Council on there.
Health Department Tobacco Grant Fund. There's an additional $29,484 to hourly, $2,358 to FICA, and grant to provide support and partnership to the local Porter County Tobacco Coalition. Then there's a Form 144, up to $22 per hour program coordinator. Reason, create a new program coordinator position. See attached job description.
Why is it called the Tobacco Coalition when we have all these people vaping and everything, and some of them doesn't come from tobacco? And that seems to be one of the bigger issues right now. I mean, tobacco, smoking's obviously a big issue, but this doesn't seem to cover vaping.
It actually does.
I figured.
Yeah, that is one of the largest, especially in the schools. So this was a grant that we received from Health Initiatives for Challenges through the state, specifically to support the Tobacco Coalition in their work in the schools. And vaping is the issue that they see with the youth in the schools, and so that is something that they address. They have different programs that they go to the schools and things like that, and they can train the trainers. All of our staff will be trained as well by this program coordinator. So
Motion to approve this grant.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. We'll get a roll call on the additional and the Form 144.
Yes.
Mike Brickner.
Yes.
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes.
Bud Stone.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, it's easy.
You guys have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Yeah. Brad doesn't want me too close.
I told you to move. See ya. Take care.
Yeah?
Hello, Sheriff. Hello. All right, there's a transfer here out of the Sheriff General Fund, $10,000 from salaries to overtime. Reason, transfer needed to cover the cost of overtime for patrol.
Move to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Second, discussion. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries. Sheriff donation fund, there's additional $21,200 patrol canine. Reason appropriation needed to cover the cost of facility certified therapy dog.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second.
Is that a therapy dog at the jail? Or just a traveling one?
Well, it's gonna be used for both jail, programs and for like investigations.
Oh, it'll be trained like that?
Yeah, for community, yeah, it's gonna be for, child victims, for sexual assault victims, for trauma therapy with witnessing traumatic experiences. It just kind of helps bring it in, calm people down. There'll be multiple handlers, one primary handler, but then up to 3 other secondary handlers, so that dog can be used at different functions and different events where the primary handler might not use vehicle.
Well, you gotta bring them to one of our meetings then. We gotta meet 'em.
Budget session, there's trauma coming up, that's for sure.
Is this our first therapy dog?
It will be, yeah.
Wow,
That's cool. I like that.
that's pretty.
Discussion, any more questions, comments? Can we get a roll call on the additional?
Cindy Graham,
Yes.
Jeremy Reed.
Yes.
Ed Stone.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Mike Brickner.
Yes.
All right, garage, sheriff garage, there's an additional $30,000 to auto truck and equipment. Reason appropriation needed to cover the cost of parts and equipment for jail and sheriff department vehicles. So, I guess real quick, I glanced with, prior to the meeting with Ryan, sheriff, on a couple of these actually. So maybe we'll skip around a little bit just to get an idea. We glanced at, where you're at, what you appropriated, and what you were spending, not just on this, but the food and groceries down there, the $125,000 additional. And I know I spoke to you a couple months back, and when you came in front of us too, and it would have seemed like on both, even the food and groceries, you seem like right on track right now of what you were budgeted and what you've spent to date, for both of these. So I don't know, are there some like increases? I know there was a new contract coming, is that, or did it come and it's in place now, so we're gonna see a spike in the cost, like over?
Yeah, and if we're talking about the jail, okay, the food, that increase from the new contract, obviously. And then also what we're seeing an increase in jail custodies, okay?
Jail custodies?
Jail in custodies, yeah.
In
Inmates.
Oh, okay.
Inmates. Usually we hover right around 325, 335 on average. Right now, we're up to about 370, okay? Part of that is because of just the increase in custody, inmates. But the other issue that we're dealing with right now is DOC has a backlog of taking inmates to the Department of Corrections. So once they're leaving and going to prison, okay, but there's a backlog that the entire state is experiencing, okay? And so now we'll eventually, the DOC pays us for that, okay? But we still need that money to pay for the food up front. So, that's also increased, that's one of the reasons also.
When did
We're
that?
talking about the 125? We're talking
Yeah,
about that, right?
that was just, and I apologize, I was just trying to see. So, we can go back to the garage then real quick. I mean, is there an increase, like, when we glanced, it seemed to be your expenditure was right on course with your appropriation. Was there an increase right now?
Yeah, there is. So like for example, rotors, right, $25 to $35, what they used to be, now they're hovering around the $90 mark, okay? That's one thing. The hourly rate that Ford now charges is $200 an hour. And this is for repairs that are above and beyond what our mechanics do, okay? So if we have to take that in with our squad cars, the hybrid vehicles, okay? Those aren't something that our people are certified to work on, okay? So we have to send that to Ford, and then that's where that increase is going. And we have a high rate of repairs on those hybrid vehicles.
Are you buying more of those, or are we done?
No, we are phasing those out.
Good.
Good.
They're phasing the hybrid down?
Yeah.
We're having too many issues.
Seems like it costs us money to,
And maybe they're good for civilian, non-police use, but when you're meeting that demand on the demand of this regular squad.
You're going to
cars,
gas?
that's
You're
a
going to
problem.
straight gas?
Well, yeah, go straight.
Okay.
So, those are the main things that we're dealing with, is just that inflating cost of the parts that we're experiencing now. And are still back ordered, parts are back ordered, they're going up. It's just really, it's really stressing, obviously, everyone's budgets, so we understand that.
So if you got a,
I don't have a motion, no, on the,
don't,
Was
On
there a
the-
motion on that one?
on the additional, no, on the sheriff garage, no.
second,
I made I'll make a motion.
Motion second, further discussion on that? It'll give us a gauge, I know we probably won't have too much, but we'll know the next couple of months when we get into budget session. I mean, so, did you turn in an increased number on that?
Well, my recommendation would be yes, but from what I understand in the past, what it kind of comes down to you guys basically saying, you know, here's what, you guys, why don't you start out with this, and then when we need it, you come to us.
Yeah, which, yep, it's fine, so.
I will work those numbers in, but I'll take it's up to you guys to.
Well, we'll start getting a better understanding, yeah, because it seemed to be pretty consistent, but, okay. Motion second on the floor, any further discussion? If we get a roll call on the additional?
Fred Stone.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Mike Brickner.
Yes.
Sylvia Graham.
yes,
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes.
6-0.
Motion carries. All right, jail general fund, there's a couple transfers I'll do together. 35,000 from salaries to overtime, reason transfer needed to cover the cost of overtime for short shift coverage. And another transfer out of the jail general fund, 15,000 from salaries to other supplies. Transfer needed to cover the cost of replacement radios and earpieces for jailers.
Move to approve both.
Motion on the floor, second, discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of the two transfers signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Public Safety Data Tech Fund, additional $105,000 to equipment rentals. The reason appropriation needed to cover the cost of LPR license plate readers for 2023-2024 grant has been approved to reimburse the fund.
great.
So that money, right now, basically, we're asking for that, but it'll be reimbursed once the grant money gets proposed, which I hope isn't too much longer, but we have to take care of that contract.
Did you remove some of them? I know you had mentioned before, potentially, so this is the new number or number?
All, yeah, plus it's a 2-year contract versus one.
Move to approve.
License plate readers are still just mainly used for identification, that they're not being used for speeding or anything like that.
No, it's not for speeding, it's for investigative purposes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, a couple seconds on the floor, further discussion. Seeing none, can we get a roll call, please?
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Mike Brickner.
Yes.
Sylvia Graham.
Yes,
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Motion carries. Federal prisoner, Department of Corrections, this is the general fund. The additional, we discussed a little bit earlier, $125,000 of food and groceries, reason to cover the increased cost of food for inmates after new contract price increase. Is there an estimate? Was it 20%, 30% cost? Was it a pretty significant cost in the contract?
It went up quite a bit.
The increase wasn't horrible. I don't remember the percentage right now, but Ryan, did you thought we were on target? Because I show we've only got $70,000 left right now.
Can we pull it up?
what is the line item?
Yeah.
We started, it's in two
Allow.
funds.
Low.
Maybe
We've
that's,
got food and groceries in two funds.
maybe that's where we weren't looking at both funds. Me and Ryan, might be my fault to look
Out of
at.
The jail general fund and the federal prisoner.
So maybe that,
And when DOC gives us some of that money back, will you guys be using it for,
Oh, yeah, it goes into.
that
Yeah.
goes into that right there?
and that's a good point, Andy, is that if there's increase, if these prisoners are staying longer, we're paid by the day, right? So,
Keep them here and we'll just collect more money. How many prisoners can you fit, or inmates, I should say? 450. Is all the pods open? So still,
Well,
the whole-
they're all being utilized.
the whole jail's being utilized?
But, you know, I mean, but to come back.
Well,
to
that's,
what you asked, Scott,
Yeah.
you know, we're having internal discussions about moving things around and eventually at some point having a mental health stabilization.
Yeah.
Unit,
Expenditures.
That's amazing. That's exactly what I was asking.
Oh,
Is that similar to what Porter Stark is doing right now, building right now?
Well, clearly ours would be more designed towards inmate stabilization, not.
Oh,
somebody comes off-
gotcha.
Somebody comes off the streets and they haven't committed a crime, we don't want to do that. That would be a private sector entity or that handles that. You know, this would be.
Gotcha.
yeah, so that's, we appropriated 322,000
70,000 left.
out of that, and you've expended 252, so there's, 70,000. What,
So we budget 322,000, and it's going up 100.
which I think was, yeah, kind of
I get it. I'm not giving you crap, but
You got that?
Peanut butter and jelly is going up?
So 50 short with, and plus the increase.
so he's suggesting doing a less appropriation now, and then if they need to, coming back later? Is that what you were thinking, or?
Oh, no,
Do they
no.
need this much?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I would rather have it appropriate so we don't have to come back to you.
Are you gonna give it back if we do that?
Yeah, I mean,
Nobody ever gives it back. We'll forget by January.
That's the problem.
Can we like introduce intermittent fasting or anything?
You're here every month anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay, forget it now. There's been too much conversation between what I was talking about.
Sorry. So, all right. Well, yeah, it'd be interesting. Maybe I'll try to get with the auditor's office a little bit and look at kind of, it'll be interesting to see what the spike in, you know, the federal inmates is and keep track of it a little bit. So,
I'll make a motion.
yeah. Motion on the floor.
Second.
Motion, a couple seconds, further discussion. Seeing none, can we get a roll call on that additional?
Mike Brickner,
Yes.
Sylvia Graham,
Yes,
Jeremy Rivas,
Yes.
Glenn Stone,
Yes.
Craig Sims,
Yes.
Andy Bozak,
Yes.
6-0.
You're blowing our additionals out of the general fund out of the
exactly
water,
right.
Sheriff. I don't know.
250.
I don't know. Transfer $5,000 from ammunition to training and education. Reason to cover the cost of Department of Homeland Security bomb training.
Roll call on that.
Motion approved.
Do them both.
There's motion a second. Further discussion, comments, questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Another transfer $5,000 from ammunition to other equipment. Reason to cover the cost of additional batteries.
Motion approved.
Second.
Second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
You need new holsters for new tasers? Or is it that they don't fit? Oh,
Yeah, they figured it just enough.
of course they did.
It's like an iPhone. You gotta change it so it don't fit in the old case.
Manufacturer is the only one.
Yeah, of course.
So they can do that.
Crazy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to do a taser demonstration?
Yes, please.
I've gotten tased.
Have you?
I did with a
General fund coroner, additional $20,000 hourly. Reason appropriation needed to cover deputy pay through the end of the year.
Hey, good afternoon.
What?
That can't be true.
January was the last.
January?
Yep.
Feels like you're up here every month. Maybe that was last year. There's an additional on the floor. Or there's an additional.
Why do we need $20,000 extra dollars? What happened?
Consider.
Can we pull this up on loud? too?
Yeah, bottom line.
Yeah, pull that, because I talked to Ryan about it too. And I think we're working from the 2023 budget that was approved before we got the wage study increases for the deputies. So we've been paying out their increases, but it's not, is that correct? I'm explaining it?
We didn't change the bottom line, the total appropriation with the increase.
Is that what happened?
I remember we did a couple changes, last minute kind of adjustments with the salary ordinance. And I think it might have been,
I think that's why.
visitors
that's
was
why
one,
they
you
did
guys
it
were
in
one.
January,
Yeah,
because they
right.
Kinda, yeah, we were overlooked, so I tried to get some in place.
Well, now look what you did. I don't know.
Just,
We're out of money.
Just,
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that's good.
So are we paying out more people, more times, or it's just the increase? That's the only
It's
difference?
just to cover, yeah, it's just
Okay.
How many employees do you have? How many deputies do you have?
9.
You have 9.
Is that when you came into office? Is that what you had? 9? Has it been the same number?
No, I
Started.
was able to increase by 1 deputy. So I have a chief deputy, well, that technically would make 10, chief deputy and then 9 deputies.
So you have 10.
Yeah.
So you increased by 1 or 2?
Just one. And I came in at 8.
When you come in, you had 8.
Was there an immediate need that you saw? I don't remember the conversation, but it's costing now, so.
It's just so, you know, the deputies can be on call, but somebody gets sick or, you know, can't cover a shift for some reason, and we would have a spare deputy.
But you had 8 of them, so how many spares did you need?
I only increased by 1.
I know, but I mean, if someone gets sick, you got 7 others if you had 8 to fill in, right? They do like a rotation?
Well, if they can't fill in.
Why
well,
couldn't
my
they?
deputies have other jobs and I fill in when nobody can fill the spot.
Have the amount of bodies that you've dealt with over the years increased? Like the coroner calls, I guess we'll call it. Have they increased over the years? I mean, do you have the numbers to?
I don't have the numbers with me, but yes, they've increased deputies.
That's not something you guys would have, right?
Auditor, did you guys think the 20,000 was enough? That'll finish it out? Is that where that number came from?
I make a motion we approve the 20,000.
I'll second the motion. Mr., we got a first and second.
There's a motion and a second for the $20,000 additional hourly. Is there any further discussion?
What happens if we don't do it and it runs out? You just don't go on calls? I'm not being mean, I'm just wondering, is that what happens? They just stop going out and?
Probably not if they're not being paid.
Well, the deputies get paid a base pay of so much a year, right? And then if they go out, they get more money.
But well, they get
If
a
they
little
get,
bit
if they
more.
get
If
a telephone call,
transport
they
a
get
body,
more money.
They get $12.50 if they release a body over the phone.
And then $50 if they go out,
If they transport a body, they get $50.
extra.
So is all of your deputies going out? Do you have anybody on the staff that's not able to go out right now?
Not able to go out, or we just don't have, it just depends on the page that we get in the situation. I mean, everybody's covering their shifts, but it just depends on the day we don't get a heads up when someone's going.
Of course not.
I think maybe the questions are leading to the increase in deputies. Was it needed? Because now
That
it's
was back
But that was in
my first
January,
term.
right?
We don't, we're,
Going back,
we're
yeah.
good with staffing right now, so I'm not,
You're not gonna be asking for more.
no.
Any further questions, comments on the $20,000 additional to hourly? Can we get a roll call on that additional?
Greg Sims,
No,
Andy Bozak,
Yes?
Mike Ricker,
Yes.
Sylvia Graham,
Yes,
Jeremy Rivas,
Yes.
Bud Stone,
Yes.
5-1.
There's a transfer of $5,000 from medical and hospitals to consultants. Reason transfer needed to cover expenses for the end of the year.
What happened there? Because I
Yeah.
feel like we tackle that every year and we've talked about this. It's been
Okay,
fine.
what, my pathologist and I did is we dissolved that MOU in June.
good.
I checked with the county attorney, it just seemed to be too confusing. So, in the beginning of the year, I was paying him more money, but, we decided on a number, per month that, I will not have to increase anything, his fees will be covered with what is already in place for next year. So that's why I was transferring the money to cover to get through the end of the year.
was this a signed contract?
It was never a contract, it was a.
So what's to stop him from saying next month, I want more money?
We've already discussed that, we haven't signed anything.
So realistically, he could come out and say, I want more money in a month or two. Because there's nothing on paper that locks us in.
Discussed that, but thankfully, we haven't had that big of an increase in our costs.
I'm just transferring the money to cover that till the end of the year, and next year we'll be fine.
Do you have enough in medical?
Unless it explodes, and then I'm gonna have to come in front of you guys to get something approved or go in front of the commissioners, but right now, everything's in place and it should be good.
Do you have enough in the medical hospital services to transfer 5,000 out of there?
Yes,
I would
we do.
So you won't be asking us for more money in that fund later?
No, we're fine on that.
All right, I think I had a motion and a second on that transfer, right? No?
Now I'll make a motion.
Motion,
Second.
second. Further discussion, all in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, fatality review fund, additional $5,000 other services appropriation needed to cover expenses through the end of the year. Typo.
Endo.
What is other?
What happened was the hospital billed us in January for October, November, and December for 2022, so we had to pay out $5,000 from our budget for 2023, so I'm just wanting to transfer money to cover that till the end of the year because we came up $5,000 short.
You're asking for additional, not transfer, correct?
Well, in order to use this money, I have to get it approved from you, from the council, from that.
Oh, it's from
Yeah,
the fund.
the review fund,
I
yeah.
see, thank you.
Is there a motion, second?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion, second, further discussion? Seeing none, we get a roll call on that additional.
Greg Simmons,
Yes.
Moser,
Yes.
Mike Brickner,
Yes.
Linda Brandon,
Yes?
Jeremy Rivas.
Yes.
Redstone,
Yes.
6-0.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Auditor non-reverting fund, an additional $148,759 to software rental fees. Reason appropriation needed to monitor and flag county property deduction.
Clarification purposes, it's the non-reverting homestead. And what we're looking at is to be a little more aggressive. Right now, what happens if somebody comes to the counter, those are usually the ways we find out that somebody has two homesteads. The reason they would have two homesteads would be if they have property here and property in Florida. So in order to do that and go into detail, and Florida's not the only state, but we have to do research on this. The software has been reviewed by my chief deputy as well as my staff to review this. And as you know, with homestead, income, we're only allowed $250,000 that goes into our amounts. Everything else goes to the general fund. The more money we make, the more money you make. But in order to make that money, we're gonna have to do some little enhancements in order to bring this to the forefront, and that would be to run queries for the types of homesteads, duplicate homesteads. We have PETA that addresses homesteads that are being appealed. So I'm gonna have Dave give you a little more information with the details.
Yeah, the software, after testing it out, it's very robust in the sense that it's not just talking to a database of Indiana properties. It's also going with all the other 49 states, going through death records, voters registration, DMV records. So that way we can kind of cross-reference all the data that we have in our office to check and see if somebody else is claiming a deduction somewhere else, or if they passed away, that we can proactively make sure that we get that correctly applied. There's also the ability for us to check and see if people are eligible for deductions that they're not already getting. So that's something that we're gonna have to work a little bit with the software company to figure out the exact way to set those queries up. But it will allow us to go through and say comprehensively, we check and make sure these deductions are accurately being applied. We've removed the ones that they aren't eligible for, and that we can go out there and reach out to taxpayers in the instance that they're eligible for ones that they're not currently getting as well.
And you notify the people if they have something that,
Oh, if they have more than one deduction, yeah, we send a letter out, and it's an introduction saying, we want to go over your homestead deduction with you. Is there a possibility? I mean, if someone were to rent their home, they would only get 50% of the homestead. If someone were to pass away, the homestead's taken away. Of course, you know, in consideration of that, taxes are paid on the following year, not the current year. So there are times when we can go back 3 years to get this. So So those are the things we want to do, but while you're considering this, I want you to think about it in 3 different ways, due to the fact that we were going to use the ARPA money for this project, because right now we're doing the book scanning for all the old books in the auditor's office. But we would like to return as much money as that to the ARPA fund and use our non-reverting fund. If you don't feel comfortable with $149,000, the third option would just fund it for 1 year, which is about $58,000. Of course, if you do that, it's like an $18,000 to $20,000 long-term cost in a 3-year process. But there's 3 options that you can do with reference to that. So if you don't feel comfortable doing the 3-year at $149,000, we would be willing to work with the $58,000.
I was wanting to ask you, I'm not talking about what we're talking right here. Of course, Facebook, everything is real on that, right? There's something that I read on it, right? Something I read on it that if a person makes $30,000 or less from Social Security, they're eligible for more of a tax break. Is that true?
I think you're speaking to the over 65 deduction. That's one of the qualifications for it on top of being 65.
So that is true.
Well, the assessed value of the home also has to be under a certain amount. I think it's $250,000 or $240,000, and it's your combined income between you and your spouse as well. So
there's like 3 different areas you have to follow.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now back to this, because I saw that and I thought,
Yeah. No,
why didn't anybody know this?
So what are we doing now, like, to,
The only thing that happens now we find out about it is if somebody comes to the counter and says, my neighbor is renting half of their house out. Or, I'm living in this home, but I have a homestead in this home and this home. And so then we have to do that ourselves. It's not like we have queries in their software right now.
The state also maintains a homestead database. We played around with it extensively, and the problem is it's all contingent upon other counties accurately uploading their homesteads to it. So unfortunately, we found the 2 neighboring counties where people are most likely to have another homestead, Lake and LaPorte, are not very diligent about it as we are of updating it. So there's a good chance that you're working with data that's way out of date. So when we're using the state's resources that outside of what we have in our office to cross-reference and find deductions like that, we've really been kind of hamstrung by just basically the participation of all the counties around us as well.
And take into consideration when we're doing this, we have to verify that it's the correct individual. If you have 3 Richard Martins, you have to make sure it's the correct Richard Martin. And so you'll have to go through a Ben verified program, so we pay, $20-some a month to do that. But it doesn't always give you the most accurate information. There are ways that you can review it. We've gone online. Right now, what we use is we'll go on and put a person's name, or if it's in a trust, if they're renting it out. I mean, there's more than one scenario that we have to look at. It's not just, they've got a homestead, and they've got 2, but there might be extenuating circumstances we need to address before we can cross the finish.
But if you're saying that LaPorte and Lake County aren't very diligent at reporting their homesteads, how is this system going to pick it up?
Yeah, so this is actually going with a lot more databases than just one upload by the auditor's office. This is going on voting records, death records. There's 3 or 4 different ones from other states as well. We have really no way to check Florida's database other than if they come in and tell us that they have a homestead in Florida as well, so.
So this is.
The thing also you need to take into consideration, the death records as well as some other records, moving things of that sort, are not automatically updated. We have to go in there and manually do it. So the person could have passed, but if we don't enter it, or if we don't have a current mailing address, then our information is not that reliable. The information with this company is already uploaded into the system.
So are you confident that you'll get more than 56,000 in returns if we put out 56,000?
Does this mean people get fines if they're cheating the system or have 2 homestead? I shouldn't say cheating, maybe they didn't know. Do they get fines? They have to back pay, and
Yeah,
there are fines included?
The other advantage you'll get too is that you're gonna have a more accurate record of homestead deductions in the county, which means more increased tax revenue, as far as assessed value goes, so.
Sylvia?
I have a question. Why would you not think that the ARPA money is a place to use this? When you're saying that this could be a good moneymaker for your department as well as us.
I understand that, but I do know that this council and commissioners are trying to accomplish other things, and they do not have access to those other funds. And the ARPA money would be there to use them.
So
The
they're,
homestead money is
have
not.
they approached you and asked you to make sure you?
Nobody has. It's just something that we talk about in the office that we'd like to, we want to make sure that this county is, in a positive manner as well as accomplishing the goals for everybody.
Absolutely
We need to work
positive.
together.
So, this is a 3-year then, the 148,000, is that what this is for 3 years?
1 year, 58.
But it's like 18 to 20,000.
Or if you do decide to use it like it.
And I know there's a few other things, if I remember, coming out of that homestead fund, the non-reverting fund. Is this, I mean, we have this available revenue to pay this?
We have a balance of like 655,000.
What are we budgeting? No, what are we budgeting annually then? I mean, but that'll fit in.
Correctly, this year out of the homestead, I purchased $50,000 worth of time clocks for the full county, not just the auditor's office. We took that out of there so that we had time clocks for the whole county, with the software that we got for timekeeping. And then we also had $13,000 that we used to be able to do the plaque maps. And we are taking that printer downstairs to share with the IT department. They're gonna provide the personnel, we're gonna provide the product. And that is gonna save us some money because we don't have to have additional personnel. So there are different projects that we've worked with them, non-reverting fund.
So I'm just wondering if, yeah, the 58, whatever the number was, $1,000 annually there's room in there with the current revenue, not like speculating future revenue, but current revenue.
I think we've done 633,000 so far.
I'd make a motion to approve.
I second.
There's a motion,
The 148,759,
there's a motion, and a second.
3 years,
For,
Right.
for which, for how much?
well, the 3-year fund,
148,
Oh, for
the 148
For 100.
out of the non-reverting.
which would actually save money here.
That's why, yeah.
Because if we just did the other one at 3 years, just every.
It would cost us a lot.
I understand that it's going to save money. Did you get a second on your?
I don't,
Red did, yeah.
Okay.
motion, a second.
And now a discussion.
Discussion.
Yes,
My only comment is that this is 148,000 plus. One of our goals is to try and meet with this budget coming up, to try and meet, this is gonna be coming out of the general fund.
No,
Oh, they're non-reverting.
the homestead non-reverting.
The auditor, yeah.
The curtain falls, that's fine. I'm very worried about our general fund, that's why I'm asking.
That's why we're trying to look at options with
Okay.
using ARPA money and things like that.
Thank you.
Any further? So I'm gonna have fun with the auditor just one time. We gotta joust once in a while. There is a fourth option.
Not getting it wrong.
Yes. All right, can we get a roll call on the additional?
Okay. Andy,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Jeremy.
Yes.
Sylvia,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes,
Mike.
All right, motion carried.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Would you let us know how well it does too, once it's up and running?
I'm excited.
I'm just curious.
All right, Memorial Opera House,
Okay, so
interim director. The 144, we're not gonna be able to pass it without you.
If you all five vote yes, you will.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ooh, I don't know.
Welcome.
There's a Form 144. Welcome, congratulations. Form 144, $0 to $55,000 interim executive director. Reason Scott McDonald's last day was August 11th, 2023. Natalie has been appointed as interim director, retroactive 8/12. I believe this is kind of just to, I think Scott's got some vacations or something, and this is paying into another position until he gets paid out.
It's actually been paid out.
Motion to approve.
It's a motion. Second. So, any further discussion on this? Seeing none, can we get a
No, I'm good.
roll call?
Sylvia,
Yes.
Mike Brickner,
Yes.
Andy Bozak, absent. Greg Sims.
Yes.
Red Stone,
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas.
So if I vote
I
no.
know, right?
I'm standing between you getting this, huh?
Really are.
Yes, so, well, according to the auditor, I don't know. We'll have to figure that law out. There you go, thank you.
Congratulations.
Got big shoes to fill over there, all right?
Don't I know it? I helped make them so big.
Fill them. Oh, you're taking credit, huh?
It's gonna be
All right,
perfect.
second reading.
It's gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
Hereby is notice given to the taxpayers that the following appropriations have been considered by the county council for additionals. General fund, coroner hourly, 20,000. Superior Court, 1, legal, 30,000. Federal DOC food and grocery, 125,000. Sheriff garage, auto, truck, and equipment, 30,000. Lit fund, contractual services, $350,000. Health fund, 1159. Medical services, $750. Advertising, $1,485. Public defender supplemental, legal services, $40,000. Auditor non-reverting fund, software rental fee, $148,759. And abuse fund, interfund transfer in the amount of $2,235. Sheriff's donation fund, patrol K-9 in the amount of $21,200. Public safety data tech fund, equipment rentals in the amount of $105,000. Foundation fund, telephone and internet, $7,197.31. Coroner fatality review fund, other services, $5,000. FEMA grant fund, other supplies, $3,548. Road signs, $1,099.50. Maintenance agreements, $2,017.46. Other rentals, $307,185.75. Contractual services, $11,449.95. Other services, $62.50. Data processing equipment, $8,084.59. Tobacco grant fund hourly in the amount of $29,484. FICA in the amount of $58. Second reading.
We have it.
Motion approved.
Motion. Second. Discussion. I'll just say, you know, I think, just a brief discussion with Ryan, we had a lot going back and forth in a brief amount of time, but additionals so far this year, you know, are lower than it's been in a while so far. So that's a good thing. Credit to all of us. It makes budgeting a lot easier when we're not doing it in the middle of the year. So, but so far it's been a really good year in a while, so. Get a roll call on that?
Turner? Sylvia?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Stone?
Yes.
Greg Sims?
Yes.
That would be 5.
Motion carries. All right, attorney's report. I mean, I talked to Harold for a while today, and he had an important hearing that he was gonna try to get here, so there's no report there. Other matters that maybe come before the council, I know we've got the levy limits and tax caps. So, if you guys wanna go over that, the council review of levy limits and tax caps per Indiana code.
So, updated, tax caps for the 2023 year, go through it. Just pretty much goes through circuit breaker, cities and town breakdown, schools, libraries, airport, townships. Circuit breaker has pretty much held steady for the most part over the last couple of years. Over the last 2 years has actually come in under what they've estimated, so hopefully we stay on that trend. One thing to remember going forward with tax caps, with the new legislation changes, with the amount of appeals and the amount of AB that's changing from the 3% to the 2%, 2% to the 1%, we might see a little bit more variation in tax caps over the next couple of years instead of it kind of balancing out. We won't know those numbers again until the end of the year when all the appeals have gone through, but for the most part, I mean, it's staying steady with how our net assessed values are moving. I don't see anything too crazy going on, so
How much is the maximum levy growth quoted for this year?
For 2023 or 24?
24.
24 will be 4%.
4%.
Yes.
And last year it was,
5%. So
So-
the state has capped us at a 4% growth quotient for the next 2 years.
ooh,
Yeah, for the next two, for 24 and 25, it's 4%.
so we'll be getting a little bit less money.
Yes, so for the next 2 years, we're gonna have to tighten our belts a little bit.
Hmm.
Other questions?
Can you find us more money?
And
Well, yeah, we just approved a 148,000 program. That's gonna bring in some more money. By golly.
all right.
Thank you, guys.
There's Commissioner's resolution. I just put that in there. You know,
Thank you.
they passed that. That was a resolution accepting the state public health funding. So, there's no action for us. We don't need to take any action. Just wanted to put that on there. It was passed. So, just wanted to recognize that for the increased funding. So, move on. Development Commission presentation. This was just to, just give an update on what the redevelopment commission is doing. So, so Stu, I think you have like, was it 2.5 minutes?
Great. And before I get any more criticism on my shirt, let me say that, one,
I love our new mic system.
one county commissioner's already said I look like his dentist, and the other one asked if I was catering today for,
I think you look like a professional bass fisherman.
okay, now we got all three.
Just to clarify, you do have one of those on, right? Because we got to have recording.
Okay, Joy, if you can help me, I'll just kind of like go ding. Here are the members of your redevelopment commission. Jeremy is our vice president. Don Ensign is your other appointee to the commission. We can move on. You guys know who this is. Here's what we're working on. South Haven redevelopment, rural housing assistance program, broadband readiness, economic development, and grants for unincorporated Porter County. And I'll go quickly through this if we can, Joy. Thank you for helping. In South Haven, we have looked at a TIF district, sign incentives, code enforcement, and Joy, if you can, is it not working well? Oh,
He's controlling.
Dave's got it?
I should be. This is like when I was in 4th grade and they had the little film strips and they go ding. So ding. Okay. If you move ahead.
Yeah.
And one more.
Not even born yet.
Keep going. All right. Code enforcement, grants for signs and facades, eligibility for state grants for stormwater, industrial park development. We'd like to create a little bit more of a Main Street feature in the South Haven corridor of US 6. If you go out over into the Portage side of US 6, tight code enforcement, it's a welcoming sort of commercial area. You have similar codes in Porter County as they do in Portage, but the difference has been not a lot of code enforcement. So we're working on that with our commissioners. Just north of 6 at 149, we created a TIF district to encourage industrial development. And this is the proposed layout of that district. Within that, we've already got Casey's is being developed. And if you move ahead on that, Casey's was included in the TIF. And we'll start seeing incremental revenue from that in 2015.
Why is it say not included?
It's not included in the industrial development side. That's the, this is a flyer from the developer trying to sell his lots.
2025, you probably.
25, I did. I apologize. We do have a loan program. I have a brochure that I could send you if you'd like to see it. Regrettably, no one has signed up for it yet, but we will pay half the cost of improving your facade and half the cost of bringing your out-of-compliance sign into compliance. So it's trying to, the commission is looking more for carrots rather than sticks and trying to get people helping there. And so far, the results have been positive. particularly in this code enforcement area. Dave, if you could help me here. Ding! Along the corridor, there is, as you know, a lot of debris and refuse. There's sign overload. I met with this owner and her attorney this morning. In a place where our code says you can only have 2 signs, one on each building, there's like 7 or 8 there, and there's some flashing lights and other issues. This was taken before we started the code enforcement. You're not allowed.
Oh, where's the $1.25 beer?
Well, you'll have to look because the signs aren't there anymore. And there's some dangerous and unsafe structures that we're working on as well. Let me say, and I mentioned this later this afternoon with the commission, for the most part, the dozen or so sign violations and code enforcement violations that we've identified, over half have come into compliance just voluntarily. We sent them a letter saying, you're out of compliance. Can we help you get into it? And most of them have done. The abandoned truck at the Broaster Chicken is gone. The 2 signs on the side of the car wash where we're only allowed to have 1, he took down the sign. Most of the barbed wire on the golf cart area, that's all gone. So people are complying. There are 3 or 4 who are not, and Scott is going to take them to court. So sometimes the carrot works well, but sometimes we need to have a hammer or a stick to show that we are indeed going forward.
Can I ask you real quick, the facades?
Uh-huh.
How do the businesses know? Does notices go out, or does someone stop by?
I stop by.
Okay.
Door to door. I only have 2.5 minutes, but Greg, I'll tell you offline why.
Okay.
It's difficult to sell.
I just have one question about code enforcement. I don't want to get off track.
That's fine, Mike.
Just identifying the code violations, that's just, we have one code enforcement officer for the county. This might, I'm just asking you because you're here talking about code enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Something we talked about, I think, in the past, but it sounds like you have a communication with the commissioners on code enforcement. Is there any assistance as far as you know? I know in the city of Valparaiso, they initiated that, where the police and the public works people around, they saw something, they could report it. Is there anything like that you can talk about in the county?
No, Mike, not in that countywide basis. For South Haven, they pay me. I know a little bit about code enforcement, so I went out there. I identified what I thought were problems. I ran that by the staff. They know this better than I do. Bob Thompson and his people are the ones who send out the letters, and then they refer to Scott McClure when we don't get the.
Well, this is kind of your initiative with these violations up to this point on South.
As part of the South Haven Corridor Enhancement Project, it's been me. What you're talking about is something that I think has been successful in the city and could be more successful if somehow you had eyes and ears turning. Right now, code enforcement in Porter County basically is complaint-based. And if someone complains about their neighbor, the code enforcement. If the proactive approach would be encouraging other county employees, if you see something, say something. And that would be a more proactive approach. Mm-hmm. Dave? This is the Casey's General Store that I mentioned. We can flip through this very quickly because I've already kind of covered it. The slide's old. You can see the gas prices. But I do want to say this. Go back if I can, Dave. They asked for a variance like every other gas station on US 6. Can we have a pole-mounted sign and not the one that according to code? And as part of this initiative, the staff opposed the BZA request for a variance. So now we're starting to get signs that come back into what the code was designed to do. Now, there's a little bit of grumbling because his competitors across the street have the tall signs and he's got the short one. But somewhere along the line, you've got to say, this is our code and people have to start complying with it. So I am proud of our BZA. Rural housing, very quickly, the USDA has 45 different rural development grant programs. When we looked at where they're spending that money in Indiana, out of our 92 counties, Porter ranks 91st in funding, just behind, the only guys behind us is Marion County. So I think we're missing some opportunities here, and We've worked to expand the eligible area to a little bit near the Pines and Chesterton, and now we're exploring what those programs are, and we'll come back to the Redevelopment Commission next month with some ideas for marketing, rural housing loan programs and the like. Mary Jane Thomas has been helping us on this. Broadband expansion, we staffed the Broadband Readiness Task Force. We became a broadband ready county 2 years ago. Read these numbers. Since we eliminated fees to encourage broadband expansion, the number of permits have gone, and this was partial numbers, up 651%. We met with the broadband ISP, Internet Service Providers, last week. They are spending millions to expand broadband into Porter County. And you've seen it. You've seen the fiber cuts and you've heard complaints in the ditches and what have you. That's, in big mind, progress. There's over $800 million of federal money allocated to Indiana for broadband expansion. And to find out where the state's going to spend that money, they need to identify underserved addresses. Broadband service providers will tell you these are our underserved addresses. Customers will say, well, no, that's not really true. I live in this place and I don't get 100 megabytes or whatever. So the commission worked with the library system as well as our Board of Commissioners to send out a postcard. Some of you have already gotten it, I think.
I got it yesterday, yeah.
I got mine. From that postcard, we're asking people, run a speed test and tell us, and us is going to be upstairs. Chuck's office is going to plot all those on a GIS map of underserved and areas. We're going to share that with the ISP, saying, is this the real thing? Then we're going to come up with a good map of addresses that could use expansion of broadband in Porter County, and we're going to share that with the state. I think we're the only county in Indiana doing this. It's not my idea, frankly. We copied it from a county in Iowa, but you know, that, we're learning. And as of 4 o'clock today, we've already had 1,264 responses to this survey that went out. So we're making progress on the broadband side.
I have a question about that. Are you guys also finding out what people are paying? Because I know by me, I can get, and I've got really fast internet, but it's very, very expensive.
Right.
It's not everyone in my subdivision has that same internet.
Right. So that's one of the issues. You could do a speed test and only get 25.3, but your Indiana internet service provider will say, Stu's got great service. He's just a cheapskate and doesn't want to pay $100. He wants to save $60 and get the lower level. So in some cases, you get what you pay for. But whether or not you're getting broadband service is now being perceived by the public as getting sewer and water and electricity. It's something that we ought to make available to all of our homes.
So you're not capturing the amount they're paying to know that information?
That's correct. On the economic development side, we meet with businesses occasionally that are looking to invest outside of the corporate boundaries inside Porter County. Project Ribeye is an example. It's a company that wants to spend about $15 million south of Hebron to bring in a meat processing and retail plant. They would need about $1.5 million to extend sewer and water utilities from the town to the plant. We would work with a TIF arrangement on that, where we would share some of the TIF revenue, help reimburse the developer for extending that sewer and water, the public utilities that are necessary for those projects. So we meet and confer with prospects. It doesn't always work, but that's one of our jobs. And Mary Jane is helping us on grants. She's been successful with us, Dave. We're going to do a special census in South Haven to see if it's eligible for OKRA funding. The off-the-top census indicates 48% are low and moderate income people. You need to be 50 plus 1% low mod to qualify for those grants. So we're going to hire Mary Jane to do a special census to determine CDBG eligibility in those low mod incomes in the South Haven area. If they do become eligible, then South Haven grant opportunities from OKRA include stormwater, sidewalks, those sorts of things that we've been spending money on to help South Haven expand. We've also submitted a grant application to NERC, and she was successful in helping us get $1.4 million to rehab Bridge 99, $5 million on the Next Level Trail program. Almost done. And we worked with Portage trustee Clancy and the Redevelopment Commission to agree to match a possible federal grant I don't know why it's in the Inflation Reduction Act, but the U.S. Forest Service now has money to plant trees in urban areas, and it requires a 50-50 match. We worked out a deal with the trustee, and we each have set aside $75,000 and asked the federal government to match that with $150,000 to plant trees in the South Haven area. When South Haven was built, trees were required for FHA or VA funding, but the cheapest trees you could find were, silver maples or something, and that's all that's there. When Soil and Water Conservation goes to the schools and talks about indigenous Indiana trees, they have to bring seeds and samples to the classroom because there's none of those trees are in the area. So if we get this grant, we'll plant some native Indiana trees in our parks and in our schools and along our streets and the like to broaden that. And frankly, as you know, trees will help reduce the floodwater impact of a rain event. The roots and the like will help. So that's about all I have to say. I say thank you for your time. I know it's late, and I took too much, more than my 2.5 minutes, but happy to answer any more questions.
Oh, thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
So, thank you. Yep, the redevelopment commission is it's getting some wheels and moving and doing some good things.
I don't think you're sure I have.
All right. So,
Nice to meet you, sir.
real quick before we wrap up, I asked facilities to come in front of us. There's a lot of discussion going on. There was just a lot of moving parts early, or throughout the year, about some different things. And as we embark on, possibly getting into some capital improvements, some large projects at the jail, at the highway, at maybe JDC. I've heard here this year that roof. Now I'm hearing just recently the garage. So, and I know and I'm not going to have the accurate information. Maybe Sylvia or others could help. When we started the facility, we from scratch funded the facilities department years ago. Built it out. Part of it was to begin to maybe wean off some of the contractors and doing things in-house.
Right.
Smaller scope things. Obviously, you're not going to go and replace the roof for us, but
No.
I thought part of it, and I think part of the idea too was to keep a good log of what needs to be done
Right.
forward. So then when we come across a time, maybe we're going to do some bonding that we're not missing anything that needs to be replaced.
Exactly.
We don't go and do a bond and next thing you know, you come and tell us, oh yeah, we've got $2 million project over here to do. So, But anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I can tell you, first of all, if I haven't met you, I'm Daniel, Facilities Director, and I wanted to make sure if you...
Turn off that other one,
Yeah.
maybe next to, or keep that one on and turn that other one off.
I wasn't involved in this one, but yeah, well, after this point.
Yeah.
I've had
I have complaints.
This one seems to be fine. Okay, how about that? You definitely don't want to do this, by the way, Councilman Rivas. Tell him, bring her back down here. You don't want to point it at the speaker. But anyway, if I haven't met you, I know I sent you that three-page introduction. If you haven't read it, the main thing I want you to know is the end, where it has my contact info. And if you have any questions, like Councilman Rivas just asked me, please send me that along. Love to talk with you anytime, whenever. Anytime. My mobile's on there also. As far as yes, having an idea of what is needed to be done, and we talk with construction managers, the commissioners, et cetera. One of the things that I serve in the role of is to say, yes, that's a good need, but I don't think it's the greatest need right now. We've already done that a few times. Back in April or so, there was a time when we had heard, gosh, I'm trying to decide if I want to bring up a specific issue, but it was a relatively minor issue that sounded like a pretty major issue. And I was saying, you know what, this is not a good idea to do this small piece right now. Let's put this together as a capital project later on. And I think that has been proven out as the right solution. Other things that I think where it helps to have me in there, my position, me or somebody else, is if you're familiar with the issue of the 911 center's air conditioning that we had last year, where we were having condensation occurring inside the room. Well-meaning people trying to find a best issue for that came up with an air conditioning system for that space, the 911 data center, which looked like it would make sense. Engineers said it would make sense. And yet, bringing an outside air into a data center is never a good idea. And oversizing a system is not a good idea. Engineers were able to defend themselves by saying, we asked for the information, we acted on the information you gave us, and the information we gave them was bad. And even though I can say to that engineer, if I'm in that place and I wasn't, are you sure 20 tons of cooling is needed in that little space? That's a tiny little room, you know? So I think that's the kind of thing where I've been able to help, can help. And the system we're going to be putting in October is a Vertiv Datamate system, a Liebert, formerly Liebert brand system, which is made just for server rooms and is not going to revolve outside air. It will just be recycling the air inside. It's a system that automatically controls humidity as well as temperature in a system. It's designed to run year-round, summer.
So we're replacing a system we just replaced?
Yes.
What are we doing with the old one?
Good question. Right now, nothing. We're going to leave it in place because we don't have a spot for it. Yeah. But depending on the reading of the contract with the people who are installing the new system, we may get that removed. So we'll take it down off the roof at the same time. If so, we'll set it aside for a future need. And almost certainly a 10-ton unit can be used somewhere.
What was the cost of that mistake?
Assuming that the cost of the mistake is the complete job that we're doing right now is about $150,000. The good news is that we were able to, my in-house team were able to help the commissioners make, I may say, the right decision to go with the best unit, the best solution this time that we didn't do that time. We were able to help them do that by using our in-house skills to put in a system that for this summer went ahead and took care of that need to take care of the long lead time. The lead time, even though we bought it in February, it's going to take till October until we even receive it. But the system that we put in place there was a $3,000 thing that you can buy at Home Depot that just helped the existing unit to keep up with that condensation problem, to keep it down. Worked great. Could not be more proud of the guys who have done that on their own. It would stretch them to have to run their own condensation lines and use existing ports through the roof and all that sort of thing to make it go, but they did. So that's kind of what I do. I don't want to take too long at this, Councilman Rivas. I can give you a basic rundown of kind of things that are going on the next few days, next few months, I should say, if you'd like, or answer questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think, everybody's got your 3 pages on here, and I think, I did recognize and appreciate you, you even mentioned Molly Maids. It's been a question here a few times. Mm-hmm. One of my concerns earlier on was, again, having a nice, ongoing record of all of our facilities, especially the new ones, the work that we did. I mean, everything would be pretty up to date on what, there shouldn't be any big needs, hopefully. But, is keeping that rolling. There was, I had some, concern hearing about maybe the commissioners hiring a company to come and analyze all of them and then being part of, then hiring that, which to me I thought was just crazy, as if, again, why we created the facilities that, the facilities director should have a good handle on all of our facilities. And then I would think you would have a nice Rolodex of contractors that you could directly call yourself and not put a third party in the middle. I mean, that's what I was really scratching my head. The reason we built the facilities department was to kind of get rid of contracting and to put somebody in between that's just going to take I saw 8 to 10% cost, with this company that was going to be hired. Maybe it was ABM or something. Yeah, it was really head scratching, and don't want to get into the details, but to me it's why we built this facilities department, funded it, and having qualified people to be able to do a lot of the, maybe low, medium work. Obviously, you're not going to do big capital, but if there's something bigger, you're able to call a local contractor or two and say, hey, I need you to come out and look at this. Is it,
As a, for instance, a job that we are doing mostly in-house, I'll say, is the building out of voters registration. So as you probably know, we're moving voters registration over to the first floor of the 157 building. That's one that we can, we need to build 25 linear feet of walls, and that's the thing now. So I'm hiring a carpenter just to basically do the framing, their expertise, and I don't have a carpenter right But then we're gonna do the electrician, my electrician's gonna do the electrical running, our IT department's gonna help us with running the cable, that sort of thing. Bring another vendor in to do the drywall, and then we'll do our own paint, that sort of thing. So it's kind of a blend of those. So small projects like that we can do. Of course, with larger projects, for something like doing the police department and needs assessment there, I want to definitely be a part of that. I want to talk with Skillman in doing that because working with my guys over the last year, they need to know what we know, more than just what the users are experiencing. For instance, you mentioned the roof on this building. Honestly, the roof on this building is not that bad. I know you hear about the fact that it's bad, needs replacing. As soon as I came in, I started fixing them. I fixed like 2 or 3 leaks. We haven't had a single leak since then. What hasn't been done a lot is when the work was done, when the fix was done, the follow-up fix wasn't done. The ceiling tiles haven't been replaced because they're expensive, but that's part of the job. Go ahead and do that too, replace that too. So I'd say part of what we need to do is go ahead and do that follow-through and do the final repair. JDC, you mentioned as well, is another one that's kind of near and dear to my heart. There's a lot of needs out there, and I consider kind of that to be the greatest need, not necessarily the biggest or the flashiest need, the jails there, but there's a lot of little needs that we can do in-house, but in-house or managing at my level, right? So as a project manager, but it just takes time.
Yeah, I would hope that you're involved with, Skillman as we're getting into the jail, highway, maybe this building, maybe JDC, is you're understanding what's being done, what the fixes are. So I would hope that, the commissioners, instruct you to, be involved to what's happening.
By the way, the main thing you get from those architects that you wouldn't be able to get as well from me is what are the current costs of those things. So what I'm going to be able to do is say, this is our greatest need. Those guys can help me determine what it's going to cost. And by the way, the ABM thing, happy to explain that, but it is complicated. It's not quite what it wasn't exactly what you suggested. It wasn't really a needs assessment. It was more a guaranteed energy savings contract opportunity, which was being kicked around. This is a state of Indiana thing, which I had never heard of before. It's intriguing, but it is extremely complex.
I can tell you, I looked at that 10 years ago, and in my opinion,
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. I lean that way myself. When you put it together with the idea of a municipal lease, then maybe, but, only in the sense that it kind of helps get rid of that inflation issue. But as a shorter term thing, maybe, but let me study a little more on that. For instance, instead of trying to say, we're going to do all this much stuff by saving energy, let's just say, hey, if I replace my current direct drives with variable frequency drives, I can save this much per year, which will to pay for the cost of replacing that drive. Instead of trying to repair everything based on that. More simple fixes, 2-year paybacks instead of 10-year.
Ours was with the heating and cooling and the lights and
Yes.
schools.
Exactly.
They loaned us the money to do it because we didn't have the money, so we were kind of stuck.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
They guaranteed us, and that helped out too.
Good to know. I'd love to know more about. So,
Well, I'm glad the roof's not falling in. I guess it's the most positive.
yeah.
And you know what you're doing. That's too.
Thank you.
So I'd imagine we have a roof plan throughout all our buildings in our county, on when they were done, what type of roof.
Yes, there is that.
Close to 20 years, we're gonna know what we're gonna need to put money for.
Right, yeah, we've got basically what we've got is a when it was done. We don't have a when it will be done, need to be done next, but that's what I'd like to work on in the future.
Gotcha.
I would also like to add parking lots to that. Don't really haven't thought about parking lot maintenance going on. One of the projects I'm doing this fall, next week, end of next week, is an analysis of the attached garage, the administration building.
The parking garage?
The parking garage, yeah.
There's a big needs assessment. If you don't have caulk.
Yes.
With the rain, there's gonna be very big problems if you don't get it serviced.
You're absolutely right, and those seals are original, 33 years old, and those are normally, as you may know, a 10 to 20-year item. So
those can create some big problems in parking garages if
yes.
they're inspected.
I'm parked in there. It's not going to fall down, is it?
Not yet.
No.
No. You know what's starting to do though? When you get into freeze-thaw conditions right now, we have it. Water will get inside of those seams, and a break at the bottom, tiny little pieces of concrete fall, and it's just enough to scratch a car or, just to scare people.
Was the ABM hired to assess any of these buildings for?
No.
Okay.
No, they were just kicking it around. Honestly, they came in from out of state. That was another kind of red flag for me. I'd rather work with someone who we can talk to references with.
Right, and then that's one of the bigger parts to me is if, we're spending taxpayer dollars, that we should do our best to put that money back in local workers and local companies, not out of state, contractors. So, all right. Well, anybody got any questions?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
All right.
What are we doing about the, okay, you mentioned the Mary Maids and our outbuildings with the what?
Molly Maids. I do that all the
Whatever.
time too.
Mary Maids, Molly Maids, whatever. Maids.
Maid Marian.
I know we talked a while ago about getting a contract for all those facilities, the JDC, the EMA and all that. Has anything been done about that, or any movement on cleaning their facilities?
So I still open to it, but my initial assessment of it after talking to Molly Maids was it didn't make sense for us. If we can get to a place where speaking of getting to a place and finding just the right distance from the microphone, where we can say have a part-timer and do one building for a certain amount of times a week or per week, like maybe 3 days a week or something like that. 8 days a month, something like that. I think it'll make sense to do in-house. As far as contract, it was just hard to find people. Like I said, okay, what if we did one in-house, one out-house? And I talked to Molly Maids about that. And they said, we can't even consider for anything for the next 3 months, and we're only going to be interested in bigger numbers at that point.
Okay, so right now, all those facilities, the Opera House, they have to clean their own stuff still?
Through a contractor. I'm not sure what Opera House is doing, honestly. I think they're just kind of doing their own thing, honestly. I think if you're thinking of in-house versus out-house still, Opera House, frankly, I hadn't thought of, I hadn't considered, and I can see what benefit there would be to adding that into the mix. As far as the highway department, the EMA, that sort of thing, I just don't see the value right now. Especially if you can consider that if you have an outhouse, there's a better word for that I can't think of. Contract.
Oh, yeah, outside
outside contract.
Under.
That doesn't have to have bring their own equipment. It does bring their own equipment, has their own vehicles and so forth. That's great, but as long as it works for them as well. For us, for in-house, I need to be able to provide them a vehicle, equipment, that sort of thing, and that's where it makes it harder for in-house. So right now, I think it's better for them to do their own thing exterior. Whether it comes to the highway department pays for their own or I pay for it, I really don't care if we wanted to consider.
But do you provide the cleanup chemicals to them, or do they got to buy their own?
They buy their own.
Let's say the Opera House, and let's say they say, we'll continue doing it because no one's helping. But is it in their budget that they've got to buy the cleaning supplies?
In the Opera House, we do provide that to them.
Okay, and EMA and the highway department,
Yes.
you provide for all those?
Cleaning chemicals, I'm not sure. Paper products and plastic, yes.
How about the juvenile detentions?
Juvenile detention and the jail have an interesting little sidebar to that conversation. Public areas, staff areas, yes. Inmate areas, no, and I don't know why. At some point in the back distance, maybe it's different funding sources or something like that for some reason. We only do front of the house stuff, if that makes sense. For instance, my custodians clean the public areas and the staff areas, both at the jail and JDC. They don't clean there.
Any other questions?
No, you got some good people working for you. I appreciate
Thank you.
what they do.
They have really impressed me. I mean, they're probably the leanest staff I've ever had. And yet, if I may say so, been good decisions about who to hire, how much to pay them, because they are fairly decently paid for this area. And especially all of my guys really make good use of it. My guy at the jail has at least saved us $20,000 a year just by doing preventative plumbing. I mean, we bought him a $4,000 router, and he's been using it, first monthly, and then discovered that how much that was serving, and now weekly, punching down every single 4-inch drain line to clear those things before they have a chance to back up. This is a place where our residents like to have fun with us by putting pajamas, toupees, whatever they want down those toilets. So the more that we can preventatively clean them. So he's done that completely on his own. My HVAC guy saved us probably $90,000 earlier this year by
Oh, he almost paid for the air conditioner, Miss Hat.
exactly at the Opera House, making that one go for another 2 years, because rather than, hey, let's say, well, we gotta replace everything now, while there were still decisions being made by you folks, the decision makers, let's do something that makes sense for the next 2 years, not necessarily try to do something that's going, when we don't know what we're gonna do with that Opera House yet. So we got that done for $15,000 instead of $80,000.
Great. All right. Anybody else? I just thought it'd be good timing. I appreciate you coming, putting together.
Anytime. And by the way, let me know how often you want to do that. You know, if it's quarterly, is that about right?
Monthly?
Well, I think as we move forward with, you know, the bigger capital project.
Okay.
I think you should be engaged, and I think it all ties into it, so.
All right, sounds good.
But appreciate it. Anything else? Further questions, comments? So, no?
Thank you all.
All right, I'll open the floor to the general public if they have any questions or comments. So, all right. Motion, and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
While you were out, we did second reading, we did